Hey guys, I'm Randy.
And I'm Daniel.
We're two lifelong friends and musicians, but when we're not playing gigs, we like to talk games.
And today on the Game and Gig podcast, we're talking about, would you actually use a Steam Deck? I have recently been obsessed with the idea of getting a Steam Deck. I want one real bad. It's bad. It's bad. It's a worldly lust, unlike anything I've experienced in recent memory. And,
I understand.
And it's a very much a first worldly lust, and I understand that, but I want it bad. So, I've been doing a lot of introspection, and I've been trying to decide, would I actually use it? Because I think I would, but that's because the idea of it is so cool. Putting it into practice is different.
And it wouldn't be the first time you've bought something because it's cool and then not used it. I mean,
Definitely not.
No, that happens to all of us.
I think we do that.
Especially those of us who are really into gaming and stuff. It's the new shiny toy. It's like you just want it.
Right. And, I haven't necessarily done that so bad with consoles, but with games, I have developed quite a backlog, specifically on the Switch.
Yeah.
So, I'm running a little experiment, but I may be getting a little ahead of ourselves here. So, let's talk about why might you have some hesitancy about whether or not you would use a Steam Deck.
Well, I can tell you that me personally, I am a huge, I like to collect things and I like having the consoles. And the Steam Deck is really cool to me, but I am so afraid that I would get it and I would think it was really cool for a week and I would just boot up 50 different games on it and then never play it again because
that's what the girlfriend reviews video was too.
Right. That's exactly what it was. And I think that that's a pretty common thing. It's just, I'm afraid that it's a novelty item and that it's really cool novelty item, but I'm afraid that I actually wouldn't use it to game. And then when I was wanting to game, I would just play my PS5 or Series X or Switch.
Yeah. So your concerns don't really come from the Steam Deck itself. It sounds like it just comes from you.
Yeah,
You're worried that you wouldn't do it.
I'm worried that I wouldn't do it because
it seems super capable.
Oh yeah, it's not like I'm worried that the Steam Deck itself wouldn't operate at a level that I'd be happy to game at. I just, one, it's all digital, and I have a problem with that because I like to collect games, and when I buy a digital game, I feel like I'm not getting, the same, I'm not getting a thing, so I don't feel like my purchase is as valuable as if I had purchased a physical object. So that's one of the big things. But then also, it's entirely handheld. I mean, I know you can dock it.
Yeah, you can.
But it doesn't come with a dock. You have to purchase that separately. And
you don't have to have the dock at all. I mean, you can just use a cable.
Oh, you can choose a cable. But then at that point, I have a gaming PC, so why would I dock my Steam Deck when I would just play on a gaming PC?
Yeah, I don't think I would dock it hardly ever.
So because of that, it essentially for me would be an entirely handheld thing. And although I do like playing handheld games sometimes, it depends on the game. And there are certainly some games that I like to play handheld, but the majority of the games I play, I would probably prefer to play it on a big TV and play it,
Yeah, I get that. Going back to the digital purchase thing, we've talked about this a bunch, about how you don't really own it, eventually they can take it away. I do think Steam is a little bit of an anomaly there because I don't know of anyone saying they've ever lost a Steam library game.
No, I mean, I don't think so either. I mean, I think that Steam definitely has probably, a ton of staying power, especially when you think about it's been around for a long time and I don't see it going anywhere anytime soon.
Yeah.
But still, me being the stuff goblin that I am, I like to have the thing. I like to have this physical object.
So I wonder if I can appeal to the stuff goblin in you right now.
Yeah.
Because I think the Steam Deck's going to be a big part of, I think, gaming history, but PC gaming history for sure. I think it's gonna go down in history as kind of maybe a first of its kind.
Kind of like the Game Boy of its generation.
And I know it's not the first handheld PC. I understand that.
It's the first affordable and widely available one.
Yeah, it's affordable. It's capable. It's the first that's really hit all those marks. It seems like.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of other handheld PCs, and I've looked into them because for a while I was like, I wonder if it would be better to get one of those instead of a Steam Deck, because it run, some of them run Windows natively and all that, and that's very attractive
And
to
I'm
me.
sure there are some that are more powerful, and then some that are less powerful, and then everything in between.
Yeah. But everybody just says the Steam Deck is so comfortable, and they say the hardware is so well made, and that is important to me because I've played a lot of handheld Switch, and that's what holds it back to me is the comfort level and the hardware. Like the Joy-Cons themselves not feeling like legitimate gaming controllers, to my big bear paws anyway.
Right.
So all of that makes the Steam Deck look really nice to me. That being said, you lose a lot of portability there because it's massive.
Yeah.
So it's a give and take, for sure.
So you said you were going to appeal to my stuff goblinness, and
The stuff goblin appeal was me saying like you're such a collector, and I think it's going to be such a piece of history that.
Yeah, and you're probably right about that. And my thought process is that like, okay, if I just want it purely for the collection, maybe I would just want to get it when it's cheaper down the line.
Yeah, that's true.
If I just want it purely for the collection,
by that point there'll be like the Steam Deck 5,
right?
And it'll be like
that'll be nothing, right?
Yeah.
But I mean, like,
it'd be like buying a DMG Game Boy now.
But to kind of like,
who would do that?
But because I have these worries, I think you have similar worries, even though I think you definitely want it more. But because you're so worried that you are afraid you won't use it, you've been running this crazy experiment.
Yeah, so I am, and that's a me problem, not a Steam Deck problem,
right?
Because I have developed such a backlog, and like I'm not embarrassed or ashamed of it because like we're busy people.
But for sure.
But I don't want to buy another console and just create another massive backlog. I want to do something big to just prove to myself that I'll use it and that that I should buy it. It's just a self-motivating kind of experiment. And what that is I've got actually I meant to bring my Switch in here because I wanted to give you the exact number. I thought it was like 12. It's closer to 18, I think.
Okay.
Games in a backlog folder on my Switch right now. And I'm going to play through all of them. And I'm either going to finish them or I'm going to spend enough meaningful time to decide they're not worth it. One of the two. I'm not going to say that if a game in there is bad that I have to finish it before I order a Steam Deck. I'm not trying to punish myself.
Right.
But I'm going to play through all those games, and I'm going to do it primarily in handheld. And right now I'm doing it with a Hori split pad because that's the best way to play Switch handheld.
Yeah. So it's really not so much about. It's kind of like you're getting two birds with one stone here. Mm-hmm. You're getting your backlog knocked out, but you're also proving to yourself that you enjoy handheld gaming enough to buy a Steam Deck.
And I know I love handheld gaming. It's been something I've loved my whole life. Like,
yeah, we're kids of the Game Boy Advance era.
I used my Game Boy Advance, Color, and then eventually Advance into the ground. Like, I played it all the time. So I know I love handheld gaming, but yeah, I'm proving it to myself as a 31-year-old man that I still do.
Yeah. I mean, like, I would be interested to see how it goes for you. And I'm kind of using your experiment as kind of my experiment as well, because I also enjoy handheld gaming, maybe not quite as much as you, but one of my big, reservations is that a lot of the games that I would want to play on Steam Deck, like lots of games that I just wouldn't want to play on other things, maybe I would get through there. Those are types of games that I wouldn't want to play handheld. That's what my worry is.
Yeah, and that's certainly valid. I mean, you get those big AAA games. Like, it's kind of weird to think about playing them handheld, but it's also, to me, super cool.
Oh, and that's the thing is, like, I totally think it'd be awesome to, like, say Spider-Man just came out on PC, right? Okay, so I think it would be super cool to play Spider-Man in handheld. But would I want to play the whole game in handheld, or would I be like, "Oh, this is really cool"? Okay.
Well, you don't have to play the whole thing in hand. To me, it's kind of like the Steam Deck is like, it's like a great complement to a PC, that you already have. So it's like, and with the cloud saves, I mean, they just hand off to one another.
Right.
It's like it's almost like the Switch, but it's two things instead of one.
Yeah. And I think that is. Like, the cool thing about the Switch is that it's not the two things.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
It's the one thing.
I agree.
And, and you can just pick it up and it's handheld and you put it back down and it's a docked console. Like, that hybrid nature. And the Steam Deck
does that too.
It does that, but it's not it is a hybrid.
I mean, it does that too. I just don't think we would use it that way because we had PCs. But
yeah,
But if somebody doesn't, they could.
Yeah, and you're absolutely right. I think for some people this will be a PC alternative because it's certainly
Yeah.
cheaper than buying a gaming PC, and it
A lot
seems
cheaper.
to be really capable and run the games.
Yeah.
You are playing at a lower resolution, but you're playing in handheld, so that doesn't really matter.
Right. No, exactly. It doesn't really matter. I mean, I'm used to playing 720 on Switch.
Is the frame rate on a Switch? I mean, on the Steam Deck, what is the cap for frame rate on the Steam Deck? Do you
That's
know?
a great question. I know it can run 60, but I don't know what the. Let's see. Let's see if we can figure that out here. Talk to the people.
Does
Randy.
it have a? I mean, like like the Switch, for example. I think is. Does the Switch have 60 frames per second in handheld, or is it capped at 30? I feel like it definitely has a 60 hertz refresh.
I don't know.
I don't know either. See, this is the thing. It's like because it's the screen will have some sort of limit. I assume it will.
Right.
But I would bet it's 60. I bet it's 60.
I think it's 60 on Steam Deck. Yeah.
Yeah, I would assume. But I mean, a lot of games are going to run at like 720, 30 on Steam Deck.
Oh, yeah.
I'm assuming.
And the Switch OLED is also 60.
Yeah, I thought so.
Yeah.
But so, frame rate to me is more important anyway. If games run at a decent frame rate. But again, I'm assuming a lot of them are going to be 30 because it is a handheld and it's got to do that to be able to run it.
Spider-Man's running at 30, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, I'm sure a lot of the higher end games are going to have to run at 30.
But the video I watched on it said it was extremely stable. They were like, in a couple movie sequences, it did dip a little. It dipped to 28, and I was like, that's not a dip. Like that's.
Yeah. And if a game with a really solid 30 doesn't bother me.
No, that doesn't bother me either. What sucks is if it's not solid.
Yeah. If you're getting down to like 15 or something, then it's like, just even the dips can be kind of yucky. But
And another thing, just while we're gushing about some Steam Deck specs here, there's the bottom model of the Steam Deck that doesn't have an SSD.
yeah.
And so I've seen some videos of some people who bought that one and they just stuck a 1 terabyte micro SD card in there, and they've compared load times from that to a Steam Deck that's running off an SSD, and it's like 1 second slower.
Oh, really?
It is like extremely negligible.
It's not like it's running like a disk-based
Right.
hard drive or
Right, it's
something,
flash-based.
So it's not, it's still the transfer speeds are really quick on those things.
Yeah.
So
So that's encouraging because I'm not going to spring for the top one. I'm probably going to get the middle one.
okay. So the Steam Deck pricing is what, 3, 4, 5, or is it 4, 5, 6
Let's see.
in terms of 100?
Yeah.
I want.
$399, $529, and $649.
So it's weird price. So it's
Yeah,
four,
it's 4 minimum.
4 minimum.
The one I'm going to go for is $529.
529. I mean, so it's more expensive than a PS5. It's more expensive than a Series X. Like this, the price also. I mean, the price is good for like if you're considering like compared to a gaming PC.
I mean, we paid about $500 for our PS5s and Series X's, man.
Right. Oh, I'm talking about the middle. The middle.
Oh yeah, I mean, I guess it's $29
the one
bucks more.
Yeah. Yeah, it's cheaper if you go for the lowest model.
Yeah.
Yeah. But the middle one that you're considering is more than a PS5. It's more than the Series X. But it's significantly less than a gaming PC.
Way less. Like a third minimum.
Yeah. Well, it depends on what kind of gaming PC you're going for, but yeah. Yeah, you're right. So price, it's good for what I think for being if you compare it to PC, it's not good when you compare it to other handheld gaming devices like the Switch, especially the Switch Lite. And then even when you compare it to like full-on consoles right now, it's at least comparable, but not amazing price-wise.
Yeah, and I mean, it is kind of hard for me, I think, to say. I mean, you compare it to the Switch OLED, like, yes, it's more expensive, but it also does a lot more, so, like, it's hard for me to really break down that value, honestly.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Until I have one in hand, I don't really know. Because, I mean, one thing I do love about the Switch is how portable it is.
Right, yeah.
But then you pick up to play it, and you wish maybe it wasn't quite so portable.
Yeah.
So, I don't know.
Yeah, it's a really tough one. I mean, I think that this experiment you're running to say like how much do you really enjoy handheld gaming enough to get the Steam Deck and prove to yourself that it won't just be a novelty item that's cool and it won't just be an expensive paperweight.
Right. And it would probably keep papers from flying off a desk really well, to its credit.
Yeah, it probably would.
But I don't want it to be that. And I have already crossed 2 games off the backlog folder. Now, one of those was Lava Live. It never really went to the backlog folder. It was just the game I was playing. But I did play it all in handheld, and I did freaking love it. And then I also beat an indie game called Bleed that took like an hour and a half.
Yeah, you
So that's 2 games.
You said that was okay.
Yeah, I gave it.
And now you're working on Cuphead.
Cuphead.
Yeah. But tell us, guys, if you have a Steam Deck, do you use it? That's the main thing I want to know.
Yeah.
If you have one, do you use it? If you don't have one, do you think that using like an experiment like Daniel's doing here, where he's going to try to play a whole bunch of handheld games to prove to himself that he does like handheld gaming enough, do you think that's a good idea? Like,
or do you think I'm just being super weird?
I mean, like, you got to do what you got to do to prove to yourself that you're going to do it. I just want to know what you guys think. Is this something that is worth doing? Is this experiment going to actually prove if you're going to use a Steam Deck or not? Maybe.
I'm kind of just vicariously playing the Switch as though it was like it's like I'm trying to scratch that itch, you know.
Well, I mean, I think it's a good thing to do.
Yeah, I do too. And man, does that Switch OLED screen not look good?
Oh man,
it's going to look better than a Steam Deck screen. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, definitely going to look better than the Steam Deck screen. Speaking of the Nintendo Switch, so
what a segue.
Nintendo has just announced recently that the Switch has sold 111 million units.
Not
now,
bad.
compared to earlier in the year, we got the number that it was 103 million.
Mm-hmm.
So in that time, that gives us 8 games. 8 million, sorry. 8 million.
8 games.
8 games. 8 million additional since the last time we heard about it. And what that's doing is, like, even though the Switch isn't as selling as well this year as it did last year, all consoles are down because 2020 and 2021 were pretty inflated years.
Yeah.
We got a lot of console and game sales.
Yes. A lot of weird stuff the past 2 years, too.
But what it's brought up the question of now, because it is continuing to sell really well, and Nintendo says that they expect by the end of this fiscal year, I think the number that they predict is 128 million. They expect it to be at 128 million by the end of the fiscal year, which is like, I think, spring of next year. I think that's the number. I didn't write it down.
That's pretty legit.
So if that happens, the Switch will be in 3rd place for the best-selling console of all time. And
passing the Game Boy.
Passing the Game Boy, passing the PS4. It's about to be there. It's about to pass both those, because the PS4 is at 117 million and the Game Boy 118 million. So I think the Switch will certainly pass those two.
Yeah. Oh, I do too.
The question is will it pass the top 2, which are basically the same, in terms of numbers, which is the DS, which sold 154 million, and the PS2, which sold 155 million. Will the Switch go on and pass those and become the best-selling console, handheld or home, of all time? Will it do it?
You asking me?
What do you think?
I don't think it will.
You don't think it will?
No, I think it will land at 3rd place and, eventually settle somewhere south of 154. Just because, and the reason I think that is because we're getting late in its life cycle.
We are, but you bring up a good point. We're getting late, but what if Nintendo keeps the Switch brand alive? And what if they do a Switch Pro? What if they do,
Then it wouldn't be the Switch selling all that, though.
Well, you saying the Switch Lite, like if they do the new 3DS, does that count as a 3DS?
I don't know.
It does. I think that if it's just,
I mean, I guess that
does the PS4 Pro, does it count towards the PS4s? You know what I mean? Like, see? Okay. So I think it does. I think it absolutely does count.
I'm thinking, I guess if they call it a Switch Pro,
Or if they call it the new Nintendo Switch. I mean, like, if they had done a Wii HD, which they never did. Lots of people say that was the worst move they ever did, was to not do a Wii HD, and instead they did a Wii U.
Right.
If they had just done a slightly more powerful Wii that had HD graphics and went with that, the Wii would have, it stopped at 101 million, I think. It would have gone on to sell much more. It probably would have been, at least where the Switch was, if not more.
Well, I guess it depends on them. It depends on how they market.
Yeah.
If they continue with the Switch moniker, then I mean, if they make a more powerful Switch and it's going to add to these numbers, then hands down, it's going to be number 1.
You think it'll be number 1?
Oh yeah.
I think
everybody in the freaking world wants
think that there's a chance that they do that we get a more powerful Switch. Or at least we get other iterations on the Switch. And I think if they continue to add new models, I don't see why it couldn't. I'm kind of 50-50 on whether it'll do it. I think that right now we're 6 years in. We're about to be this March. This upcoming March will be 6 years.
Yeah.
I think the Switch is at least going to be 8 years.
But you think that could be extended? Like, you think that could include a Pro? Or do you think we'll go 8 years before we even get a Pro?
Well, Nintendo has just said that this upcoming holiday, that there will not be new. They say this. There will not be new hardware. That it'll still be the OLED, the regular Switch, and the Switch Lite. Those are the three models that'll be selling this holiday.
Yeah.
So I don't expect to see anything this year.
Yeah.
But I say 2023, I expect to see some Switch.
You think it'll be a Switch Pro, or do you think it'll be a Switch Lite OLED?
I could see a Switch Lite OLED.
Me too. That would be pretty sick, honestly.
And that would be cool. We've also talked about this a long time ago, but I could totally see there being a dedicated console version of the Switch that does
a home console
that doesn't have a
screen.
No screen. It only is just a box that you put your you put your cartridges in, and it's a home console version. If they do that, I could see that appealing to a different market.
Yeah, me too.
I don't think it would sell as well as a regular Switch, but I think it would sell to some people. So I could see that, and maybe that would be also more powerful. I don't know, but if they continue to iterate on the Switch for the next few years, I give it about a 50-50 chance of it becoming the best-selling console of all time. But we did a poll, and we asked the Gaming Gig viewers, will the Nintendo Switch eventually become the best-selling console of all time? And it seems like it was pretty split amongst the people who voted on this as well. So 41% of people said yes, and 59% of people said no.
Yeah, that's pretty split.
Yeah, it's not, more people are leaning towards no. I'm just not sure.
Well, I was leaning towards no because I wasn't thinking about how they could just be clever with their marketing and extend it.
Yeah, extend the life.
I'm thinking about the Switches we have right now, and I'm like, no, I don't think so. But if they make the Switch that everybody wants, which is a more powerful one.
Yeah,
sure. I don't see any reason why I won't.
Yeah, it just depends on if they go like Switch 2.
Yeah.
And make a new, essentially the next generation Switch, or if they just keep, just barely adding to it.
Right.
I just don't know. It's tough. But we had some comments.
We sure did. We got old Larry House chiming in again. He said the Switch has made Nintendo a real competitor again, that they simply haven't been in the past 20 years. They finally found their groove. I'm dreaming and wishing for a Switch console to come along that's a home console only with no screen. I have the Switch Lite for travel. I'm not spending the money on hardware like the screen and stuff that I don't want. They release something like that and they could do it cheap. No Joy-Cons, no screen, and they'll have another sale from me instantly, plus on a Pro Controller. So
I'm assuming that Larry here uses just the Switch Lite. Because, hey, the Switch Lite's great. If you like, the Switch,
Switch Lite's awesome.
If you're wanting handheld, and you're pretty much only going to play in handheld, there's really not many drawbacks to going Switch Lite.
Yeah. Honestly, a Switch Lite OLED would be sick for that. I seriously think that would be awesome. But Switch Lite itself is great. I love the way, I just love how solid it feels. Because it is solid.
Yeah. I think the main thing that speaks to me in this comment from Larry is that if they can do it for cheap. Like if they can put out a console version that's cheaper than even the Switch Lite, like say they could do it for $150.
Man.
Dude, that might make me want to buy it just purely for the collection. If it's cheap enough, you know what I mean?
I guess.
Just to have it, just because it's cool. I wouldn't want one. There's no point for me. I have a Switch OLED. Like, why would I want just a home console version of it when I can dock my...
Yeah.
But if it's cheap enough, I could see people getting it because people who have not purchased a Switch going in because it's cheap, Yeah. But then on top of that, the big Nintendo fanatics or people who are just interested in gaming, like we are, would purchase it just because it's cheap enough to say, why not? Just add it to the collection.
It'd be nice to have just a home switch in the bedroom. I mean, that'd be nice,
Just
like
another one, yeah. Another place in the house to have a switch just all the time,
But it'd be even cheaper to just put a dock in there.
Right, yeah, I know. And that's the thing. It's like, I think that's one of the reasons they haven't done this.
Yeah.
Is because I think the market of people who would buy this, although like someone, like Larry here is saying like it'd be perfect for them. I think the number of people that it'd be perfect for is pretty small.
Me too. And I think if he didn't have just a Switch Lite, he probably wouldn't be saying that.
Well, there'd be no point.
Yeah.
If you have a dockable Switch, you don't need a home console Switch because you already have one.
Yeah.
But if it's cheap enough, I think that's the ticket. I think if they could get it $150 or cheaper, I think then they could do it. Because
That'd be
think about
insane, too,
what's
like-
probably the most expensive thing about the Switch is one, it's got to be really manufactured in such a way that it fits in this little handheld device, and it's
Yeah.
got to have a screen,
Right.
and it's got to be able to dock. All the components, like none of that has to be there.
No, none of it.
It could just be a little box.
Yeah, it could. It could be probably very tiny.
Yeah. And it just needs to have a place where you can put your cartridges.
And it'd be like the only home console to sell for less than $400 or $500 in forever.
I know. And then, so I think that's really interesting. I think the main thing is it would have to be super cheap for it to be able to work.
Because if they try to sell it for anywhere near another Switch,
Yeah.
it's not a good value.
But then I said the exact same thing about a handheld, like a handheld only Switch. I said, well, it needs to be super cheap for that to be worth it. And $200 is a good price for a handheld, but it's more expensive than a lot of handhelds have historically been.
It's also more powerful than a lot of handhelds have
Yeah.
historically been. So,
So, I mean, we'll just have to see. I don't know. I mean, we might get something like, like in the Wii generation, at the very end, we got the Wii Mini, and it introduced at $99.
that's pretty sick.
So, I mean, it was a little bit weird, but $99. So maybe they'll do something like that. I mean, who knows? If we get a $99 console
I'll buy
only
one.
Switch, yeah, I mean,
I'll buy one for $99.
I think I'd do it for $150. I don't know though.
I'd have to think.
Yeah. So we have another comment from Matthew Hardwick who says, yes, they will outsell the PS2. The Switch has made handheld gaming a popular way to play video games, especially with the younger generation. That's interesting. PS2 was over 155 million units. The Switch is already at 107.65, and that was back in May. Okay, so this is an old number because the new number is 111. But
He's right, though, about that younger generation thing. I see people playing handheld Switches at school all the time.
oh yeah, you have probably a pretty good view of that and see what are people playing.
Yeah.
I mean,
definitely.
like one, it's the only handheld option right now.
Yeah.
So of course, that's what people are going to be playing handheld games on, besides Steam Deck.
I see kids having a lot of Switch Lites. I've seen that
oh, really?
over the years, yeah.
Yeah.
They'll say, oh, I love my Switch. It's just a Switch Lite. They always say that. And I'm like, dude, Switch Lite's awesome.
Do you?
So,
Well, I know, like my guitar piano students, a lot of them, they have siblings and stuff, and what their parents have done is they've just bought all their kids their own Switch Lite, and they have their own individual Switch Lites,
that's awesome.
and then they might have one like home console Switch, but then they have their Switch Lites.
They don't even have to buy the link cable.
Nope, not
Man,
anymore.
these kids will never know the struggle of
They'll never
a
know.
faulty link cable, not being able to evolve your Pokemon because you couldn't trade them with anybody. These kids are straight up pampered.
They're pampered, but it's a good time. It's a good time to be gaming because I
yeah.
really do think handheld gaming is better now than it's ever been.
Oh yeah, it is.
Like the Switch, obviously being at the forefront of that, but we're still early on something like the Steam Deck. But like you were mentioning in our earlier segment, yeah, I could totally see the Steam Deck going down as being like the first big push into PC gaming handheld.
There's already like several other pretty high profile, handheld PCs that are going to come out soonish that are, direct competitors to Steam Deck. So, I mean, the competition's going to show up.
Oh, well, it will.
Yeah. If you haven't seen anything on the Ayaneo Air, you should watch. You should watch a
I'll have
video
to look
on
that
it.
one up.
It's pretty cool.
What do you guys think? Let us know. Do you think the Nintendo Switch will eventually become the best-selling console of all time? I'm on the fence, but I could see it happening. You think it will?
I do now.
You do now? You're
Yeah.
you're on board?
Yeah. All they got to do is make a Pro. Done.
Done. Then they've got. I don't know, because I think if they make a Pro, okay, let's say they get to that 128, and then they introduce a Pro, all it would have to sell is what? It would have to sell like 30 million.
Yeah. And what if Breath of the Wild 2 has to run on the Pro or something? Done. Done.
Yeah, that could be a
Dead and done. Yeah. 200 million, easy.
200 million. I don't know about that. But I could see it happening.
I think Breath of the Wild 2 will probably end up being the same as last time. It's going to be like playable on the Switch, but it's going to be like a Switch Pro.
You think so?
Yeah, just like it was with the Wii U and the Switch is what I think.
Mm-hmm. I could see it happening, and that would explain all that crazy. We did a whole episode about the Breath of the Wild 2 trailers where things seemed impossible to run on the Switch.
Yeah,
that would kind of explain it. We'll see. So, moving on to our last segment of the podcast here, Daniel. Games of the week. What? Actually, I'm going to start it off this time because I had a very interesting week for gaming.
You did.
So this past week, I've actually just got back from being on a cruise. And I decided I took two things. I took my Switch and I also brought a 3DS. And I did play the Switch because Catherine and I have been working through Cadence of Hyrule. And we brought the Switch to play that. But that's the only game we played on the Switch. Other than that, I played through Resident Evil Revelations on the 3DS, which is, if you know anything about Resident Evil, if you know about this game, it is originally developed for the 3DS as being a 3DS exclusive Resident Evil game. It was eventually ported to other consoles like the PS4, Xbox One, or it was PS3, Xbox 360, that era, but it also went to the Wii U. It's gone to like everything.
That's pretty cool.
But it was originally a 3DS game. And very cool game. And I played that on the cruise, and I love that game, dude. Well, I love the Resident Evil games, but this was really fun.
I'm very envious of just the image of like sitting on the deck of a cruise ship, staring at the ocean, and playing a 3DS. That just, that makes me just happy to think about.
It was nice. It was pure relaxation.
It makes me want to go on a vacation. Just that idea, like the idea of that, makes me want to go somewhere.
You need to do it, man.
Go sit at the edge of the Grand Canyon and play Switch.
But I have to say, I just purchased a copy of Resident Evil Revelations 2 because I'm going to keep going. And I'm actually, Resident Evil 5 is the game that canonically takes place after. So I'm going to play that one, then Revelations 2, then Resident Evil 6. Because I haven't played those generation of Resident Evils yet.
Cool.
I played the earlier ones and then the newer ones, but not that weird middle area.
Yeah.
So that's been my week in gaming. What about you, man? What you been playing?
I've been playing a lot, all in handheld mode.
Yeah.
So mainly it was Lava Love, and holy crap, I love that game. I've been waiting for this moment to tell you what I rated it.
What did you rate it?
I gave it a 10.
Did you?
Yes.
I gave it a 9.
I gave it a 10, and I knew you gave it a 9.
Did you really?
Yes.
You just knew?
I just knew.
I really liked it a lot. I didn't think it was a 10 out of 10 game, but I liked it a lot.
I loved it. I mean, there were like certain times that I liked it less, but I never thought that was because it was bad. Like, I just wasn't as crazy about the prehistory chapter, but it was still well done.
I mean, but the thing is what's great about that game is they're all individual stories.
Yes.
And they're short enough to where if one didn't completely hit for you, you had others that did, and it wasn't like it was the whole game.
And all the other ones did.
Yeah.
and prehistory was good. It just didn't hit as hard. But
it was just your least favorite.
Yeah, all the other ones I hit me very hard. And the way at the end that I'm not going to spoil, it just really, I loved it. I think it was my favorite RPG I've ever played. Turn-based RPG like that, not talking like Fallout and things like that. But I love that game. I'm going to replay the final chapter from a different point of view now to really get all the endings, I think, at some point. But I don't know. But then I played Bleed, which is that indie game, that twin-stick shooter that I told you about, and I gave that like a 6. It just wasn't my thing. I don't think I like twin-stick shooters. I've played like Enter the Gungeon in the past, which is really like a bullet hell, but you do aim with the joysticks, and I didn't love that either. So I just don't think I'm going to play any more of those.
Fair enough.
And I've also started Cuphead, and I'm through the first island, so I'm on the second island of Cuphead now. And I can't believe I've waited so long to play Cuphead.
I've been telling you to play that game forever because I knew you'd love it.
It is so cool.
Yeah.
It's like, because I love like old cartoons and stuff like that, and it's so well done, and it looks so good on the OLED.
Yeah, the graphics are probably, the gameplay is really fun in Cuphead. I love watching people play Cuphead. For me, it's it's just too hard.
Yeah.
Like, and I love the way it looks, and I love watching someone who's good at it play it. But to me, like, it just gets into that point where it's just too frustrating to enjoy.
Yeah. I mean, literally every level, because it's so boss fight centric, and I didn't know it was going to be that way going in. I thought it was going to be you play through levels and you beat a boss at the end. Like, I thought it was going to be traditional like that, but it's not.
No.
And every level, whether it's a boss fight or a running gun level, I die a bunch of times because you just have to learn it.
Yeah, learn it, yep.
But I love games I like games where I have to learn the boss fights. And that's something that I talked about really liking in Donkey Kong Tropical Freeze. How that game really made me learn the boss fights. Metroid does that, you know.
Oh yeah, yeah.
When it's at its best. So I'm loving Cuphead, and I'm going to play it again after you leave.
Oh yeah. Well, that's awesome, man. Sounds like we both had some a lot of gaming this week.
Yeah. Oh, and Season 7 of Sea of Thieves is also out, so I played that too.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to playing some of that tonight.
Yeah. Are we playing Sea of Thieves tonight?
Yeah, is it a Sea of Thieves night?
I don't know. I don't know what the last time you played. I don't know.
I'm playing Sea of Thieves tonight.
Okay. Well, I'm certainly down.
Sea of Thieves. We're gonna be streaming it tonight on Twitch.
Not that I don't love Fortnite, but I was really hoping
when this podcast's out, we will not be. That night will probably be a Fortnite night.
Yep. Which is also awesome.
We're kind of like alternating right now on the stream between Sea of Thieves one session and then the next session play Fortnite. We're just kind of going back.
So you're going to get that Goku skin?
We don't know that there is a Goku skin yet. I mean, maybe by the time this podcast.
Tweet it? They tweeted like well, they didn't tweet skins are coming, but they tweeted Shenron.
Like, So I mean, like, there is going to be a Dragon Ball crossover, and by the time this podcast actually gets out, we may know all about it. But at this point, while we're recording it, all we know is that Dragon Ball crossover is coming to Fortnite.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, there's been so many. We've seen Marvel crossovers. We've seen Star Wars crossovers. We got, let me think, because we had another anime. We had Naruto, yeah.
Star Wars, Indiana Jones.
There's been so many. I mean, it's like everything.
It is like everything. Spider-Man. Avengers in general, like Captain America's in it. And the crazy thing is they mix all these. So it's like, I saw Captain America do a Rasengan in a loading screen, which is Naruto's signature move. Like, that's messed up. And he had like a gun on his back, while he did it.
Yeah. It's crazy, man.
It was just crazy.
So,
I think Fortnite's pretty cool. And I think these Dragon Ball skins are coming out. I think they're kind of doing it timely because we're getting that new Dragon Ball Super movie in America on Friday.
It's been out in Japan already.
Yes.
It's just...
It's been out. It's been pretty much spoiled for me. That being said, I'm going to see it on Friday.
Well, that's great. Well, guys, I think we've reached the end. So until next time, I'm Randy.
I'm Daniel.
And this has been Gaming Gig.
Peace out.